The following episode is brought to you by Poison City Brewing, proud makers of Durban Poison Cannabis Lager, the beer that invites you to live your poison.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is here. It's real hip-hop music from the soul, y'all. Yeah, check it.
How's it going, guys? It's myself, Nasiphi. I'm here again with Meagan. We are back with another episode of Sludge Underground podcast, and we always bring you guys the best talent, and I'm glad to say from around the world. So today is no different. We've got our brother all the way from Korea in REBENN. He's songwriter, producer, session pianist, and cello player. He's also an avid coffee lover. Listen, bro, I want to sort of just get this out of the way. You know, what is it about coffee that you love so much, brother?
That's a really good question. Coffee is like a daily air you need to breathe. I mean, yeah, I just can't live without it, basically.
Are you like super finicky about the way that your coffee has to be made? Because I've got a couple of mates who live off making coffee, and it's sort of like they don't want anything sort of like cheap or anything. It always has to be like filtered coffee, and it has to be the expensive stuff. Are you more or less on the same level?
I'm leaning towards Ethiopian coffee. I think you guys, you probably tried it before. Like the Ethiopian coffee is a little bit soury at the end, right? Yeah. So I really like those kind of tastes and flavor. And yeah, I just like dark coffee, black dark coffee. It has to be like Ethiopian or Kenya. Yeah, so I'm a little bit specific about it, yeah.
No, that is really cool, bro. I really enjoy that aspect of things, bro, that you are a coffee lover.
Because I've been to South Sudan during my military service as United Nations peacekeeping force. So I have a lot of people, friends from African countries, like South Sudan, Uganda, South Africa.
Dude, tell us a bit more about that, bro, what you just touched on, your time in the military service, before we dive into your music.
So I was having a really regular military life in South Korea, and then there was this notice, apply for United Nations peacekeeping force. And then it's really competitive, like it's less than 0.001% or something. So I applied, and I became an interpreter under United Nations and under Republic in Korea. So when I first went to South Sudan, it's like over 50 degrees, super hot. And I really had a tough time, getting used to the weather and everything. But 8 months really passed quickly. And I've learned a lot of things during my military life in South Sudan.
I'm an interpreter myself, so that's like a yay on that. Shout out to you. Yeah, dude. Dude, this is epic. But from what you've just said, you're an entire interpreter, in the UN and whatnot. How do you go from, the military, the UN, and onto, just being a musician, dude? It's you barely hear. It's very different, I've never heard anything like this.
Oh, well, actually, in terms of music, when I was a little child, like 3 years old, I used to listen to a lot of opera and classical music. So I was really super into Chopin, Verdi, and Bizet, like those kind of classical musicians. And then it sort of dived into hip hop and then pop. But to connect my South Sudan military life, there was one point that I was having just a normal chat with a South Sudanese student. So this was at the vocational center in South Sudan. So I was teaching architecture, knowledge about architecture, basic knowledge about constructing and everything. So at that time, I was having just a light chat with the friends, and they were actually making an impromptu music on the spot. And I felt really warm in a way. That sort of inspired me to go back and making more music.
It says that you are born in Korea, but you spent some of your childhood in New Zealand.
Yeah.
What was it like being sort of exposed to such different climates and environments And has it had any effect on the way you make music?
Definitely. It really influenced me in a cultural way and a musical way as well. When I was in Korea, I was super into classical music. I didn't know anything about pop music or mainstream music. So when I first came to New Zealand, I had a tough time, always as an international student, getting used to the cultures and everything. And I met a lot of good friends, and they recommended me some hip hop, pop music. So that kind of influenced me in a way of making pop music.
Listen, bro, it's really, you're a very, well traveled, person. And is that something, that we can hear maybe in the music that you make? I mean, you mentioned all these countries, bro, from Korea, Sudan, New Zealand and whatnot. Can we sort of hear this, in sort of who you are in terms of the music that you make?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. For my first single, Ghost in My Mind, it's a little bit conceptual in a way of spooky vibe and everything. But from my second single, I kind of decided on who I am as an artist and musician. So like you said, I traveled to a lot of countries. So from my upcoming second single, I try to bring that travel atmospheric vibe into it. So I have a lot of influences from traveling to many different countries, definitely.
Taking it to the sort of production side of things, what do you work on? What software do you use? What is your criteria when it comes to picking samples? And what made you choose your vocalist in terms of collaboration for your first single?
So actually, for my first single, I thought it was really catchy and conceptual. But at the same time, I thought that this single, it's not like a grandiose, really big, huge production, quality. It's a really spooky with a lot of concept into it. So I really focused on that, knowing that it's not like a radio hit or something. So I use Ableton Live. And I guess that's a really hard question to answer, Meagan, because the process of producing is it depends on every song, to be honest. So, for example, this Ghost in My Mind, I was just humming one day, it's just a ghost in my mind. I was just humming, as a songwriter, always, and, voice memory and everything. And I thought that was really catchy, And then I wrote the melody first, top line melody first, and then wrote the background music. And then I thought this was perfect for female voice. So I, searched a female vocalist on the internet. I found out that Ellae's voice would be a perfect fit for this instrumental. So that's how I made Ghost in My Mind.
Yeah, and that's beautiful that you mentioned Ghost in My Mind there, bro. Tell us a bit more about the track. We do know that you found Ellae, on the internet, and that's how you guys got together. And sort of, what was her reaction when you reached out to her and you're like, listen, I've got this sick instrumental that I want you on, and sort of walk us through the whole process of how the track sort of came together after you guys then sort of got together and united.
So when I first sent it, the instrumental-wise, the quality wasn't that great, actually. It was just a really rough instrumental sketch, because I always wanted to give when I give a really polished sound instrumental with a lot of ideas into it, sometimes the top line vocalists cannot really put their mind into the song because there's already too much ideas going on, right? So I sent a rough version to her, and I already had a top line melody in my mind, so I told her about my ideas and everything. She told me it was really great. And then she came back with deliberate and wonderful lyrics.
Just looking at sort of your pop sound, bro, who would you attribute that to when it comes to like who are some of the artists that you grew up maybe listening to, or that ended up inspiring the pop sound that we hear in your music? Also, just considering that you did listen to more like classic music back then.
Yeah, right. So I know it's a little bit long story, but I have a lot of artists who I really look up to because I grew up in a really various musical background. So, like you mentioned, I like classical and opera music, like Verdi, Liszt, Beethoven, and a lot of jazz artists even too, like Duke Ellington, Red Garland, John Coltrane, and even hip hop artists like Nas, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Lupe Fiasco, Common. But my production-wise, in terms of pop production-wise, I really look up to Gray. Gray is a really Billboard, producer duo who has, who worked with Zed and many other Billboard artists. And Teddy, who is the mastermind behind Blackpink's project and Big Bang as well in K-pop. Also Clean Bandit, Galantis, Sigala, Jonas Blue, Rehab, Zed. So those are my pop inspiration in a way.
Yeah, like we're talking a lot about pop, but when it comes to pop as a total genre, and then you get K-pop, do you think that you're sort of pressured to fit into K-pop as a genre, or do you sort of get more fluid with it and take just the essence of pop and use that? Because K-pop, to me, is sort of notorious for combining that classical melodicism and then getting really cheeky by throwing in different genres and like making it accessible to a global audience. And I can hear that in your music, but I still wouldn't really put you on the same playlist, if you get what I mean. Like, do you fit, or like what do you, from your mouth, not mine,
Okay, gotcha. I definitely agree with that. I'm really glad that you brought up K-pop, because a lot of people really underappreciate K-pop. Because if you hear one song, my mentor producer, his name is Nico Blank, and he's a K-pop producer, and he taught me a lot of stuff, including various musical stuff. And one of the things I learned is, if I open up a project file of one K-pop song, it's over 400 stems. So which means in each section changes, the genre changes as well. So he even said it's even writing like 4 songs, 5 songs in a single one song. You know what I mean? And back to the question, I would consider myself as not K-pop genre. I would consider myself as just pop.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect, type of description. And you did also mention there, that you are into, quite a lot of, well, not quite a lot, but, some hip hop artists, bro. You mentioned some icons there, J. Cole. I even saw one of your posts where you had it's sort of like a collage, and I even saw Joey Badass in there. Like these, dude, the artists that you listen to are the artists that I listen to, and I can relate, dude. Like I saw that you also put up, I saw you put up To Pimp a Butterfly, which I think is top 3 greatest hip-hop albums of all time. I know it's a bold statement, but that's how good it was. So how much of that hip-hop element would you say you incorporate into the pop sound, for anyone who maybe hasn't heard any of your stuff?
Okay, so I have a little thing about hip-hop. It's hip-hop was the first genre that I produced in a computer. So basically, I came across a DAW called Logic Pro in one of the computers installed in my high school's music room. And I was so fascinated that you could make music from a computer. Even until that time, I thought all the musicians wrote music on a music paper. So I started out making hip-hop beats at first, and then it became my secret hobby because my high school was so white and academic. 80% is white people, that musical activities weren't their main target. It's all about academics and, results and everything. So while I was making crappy beats, my music teacher, who was Dr. Garner at that time, she really inspired me to push me to make more music. And with my first ever produced hip-hop music, I thought it was a really crappy beat. I thought it was bad, but I just, sent it to International Songwriting Competition. It's a yearly base, the International Songwriting Competition. And with my first ever produced beat, I went up to semi-finalist, which actually blew my mind at that time. So that was my initial journey as a producer. And then I stopped making hip-hop music because I just lost the passion, and maybe it's because I naturally went to army and I couldn't listen to, relevant music at that time. And after coming back from army, then I dive into making more music, making more pop music. So in terms of hip hop, that was my initial inspiration. I listened to a lot of J. Cole's, Come Up mixtape. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you already know about it because I think you're a hip hop die fan, right? Hip hop, really, yeah, super fan. And Lupe Fiasco, he's a professor, I think, in a university, language studies. But Lupe Fiasco at that time was a really, he was hyping up lyrically. He's like brilliant, and
he's underrated, dude.
Yeah, he's so underrated. I mean, even one of his songs is called "Dumb It Down," and he talks about how he has to like dumb down the languages, so that the audience can understand. Sure. That's how intelligent he is.
Dude, I really appreciate your musical taste, man. Thank you so much for this. This is really dope.
I sometimes enjoy listening to more than Lil, like Lil Pump's music or whatever. But I mainly listen to like the old classic songs, J. Cole and Kendrick, those kind of musics, because they are the ones who really brought rap to the mainstream world. Like they sort of intertwined the classic hip hop world and melodic hip hop world into one genre. So I really appreciate those artists.
Okay, guys, I am loving this. Like, those are some incredibly solid foundations. And, like, this has just proved that you can use your music taste to make friends, because you guys are invited to any of my parties anytime.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm kind of wondering about these 180 plus sketch ideas that extend over many genres. When is this Odyssey coming out? And why don't you just upload?
So basically, I'm a full-time university student at the moment, but I took a leave of absence from university in Japan. So right now I'm in Korea. So people sometimes ask me like, how do you manage to make beats while you're in university at the same time and blah, 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 because I've been doing music for about a year and a half right now. So basically whenever I have a sketch idea during the class in university, I need to record my voice memo. So I secretly sometimes go to a bathroom and record the ideas and stuff and come back to class. So that's how I'm really crazy about the musical ideas and everything. So that's why I have more than 180 sketch ideas, I guess.
One of the posts that I saw as well was that you've basically been playing cello for like 8 years, dude. Like what sparked that, bro? Like why did you want to sort of get into playing cello?
Oh, so for that question, I was initially gonna learn violin, but I thought violin, a lot of people play violin in the classical world, if you talk about the ratios. So I thought, what is some unique instrument that looks cool? And cello might be really cool. So that's how I picked up learning cello.
And sort of, was it your intention to have it, be an instrument that you would play? 8 years is a very long time, bro. Was that always did you expect to play that long?
Because it's my passion, I love classical music till this day. So not because my Asian parents, told me to do it, because I really wanted to do it, because I really wanted to do it myself. A lot of people ask me like, oh, your parents, made you do it, right? And nah, I didn't. It's me who, I really wanted to do, play the cello and piano by myself.
Yeah, dude, that is really special. We're looking at, a date that's coming up really soon, the 7th of August, bro. Something special is happening on the 7th of August. I don't want to ruin the surprise. Please spill the beans, man. What is happening on the 7th?
So, the 7th of August, I'm releasing my upcoming second single, which is leaning towards more summer pop and so it's a little different from my first single. So, hope you like it.
And I also saw that you actually designed the cover art. Tell us a bit more about the cover art as well, in terms of what went into that, why it looks the way it does. It looks really interesting, actually.
Sometimes, I would ask a graphic design artist to do my cover art, but, then I need to, talk about the detail ideas and, going back and forth. And at that time, I really, really didn't want to do that. I just want to focus on me and myself and my art. And that's how I came up with that cover art, I think.
Yeah, it really connects to the feel-good summer vibe that like we're gonna get from this track. Like I've been replaying the teaser over and over again just to try and imagine a little bit more. But I know that anything that I come up with is just gonna be under the rug when I listen to yours. So I'm so excited. 7th of August is in the calendar. It's booked.
It's gonna appreciate it.
I think now just to focus on sort of you, walk me through what it's like being, a producer in Korea, bro.
Okay. I'll walk you through the Korean music industry a little bit. So basically, there are a lot of musicians and producers from Korea, and they're all majority of people. They're indies, and they a lot of people know K-pop, but Korean R&B is a little underappreciated because there's so many great artists like Dean, Crush, but the ratio of people, that is in the one music pool is so competitive that even making it to like the biggest K-pop company is like one out of like thousands, so 10,000. That's how hard it is to survive in a K-pop industry.
We with the sort of pandemic that we all facing as a globe, I want you to walk me through what it was like when you first heard on your side, government mentioned, what, guys, we're gonna have to go on lockdown and whatnot. What was going through your mind when you heard about it's a very weird time, 2020. It's something that we've never really So what were your first initial thoughts when you heard that we're going on lockdown?
Before the corona situation became much severe, I was at Japan in Tokyo for my university. So after my semester is finished, I came back to Korea. And now I'm hearing a lot of stories about, in Japan it's getting really severe, right? The corona situation and everything. Even Korea, it was getting severe. But I actually like how Korea reacted to the situation, because now Korea is one of the countries, one of the few countries which really overcame this corona situation by, implementing drive-through system. And so Korea is the first country which actually implemented the drive-through system. So now other countries are, using it, right? So it was, I don't know, I didn't have that kind of emergent, like, oh shit, I need to be really careful about this, Like I need to stay in my house for 24/7. But Korea is not that severe comparing to other countries. So I didn't have that idea of emergency. But I guess in South Africa right now, I heard that it's the confirmed the corona patients is like 400,000. I mean, is it getting okay or is it getting much severe?
A lot of people are sort of really battling with the long-term effects of having to change their lives and having so much thrust upon them and having so little control. I think it's getting to a lot of people.
Wow. I mean, this epidemic is really it's bad for everyone, like economics and business, is closing down and everything. It's really horrible.
And the crazy part is it's getting closer. You only realize how something serious is once it starts affecting people close to you. I've been communicating with Meagan throughout this whole thing, and I've been telling her people at work. At the place that I work have been been testing positive and whatnot. So you realize that, hang on, this is actually getting closer and closer and closer. Because I remember when this first broke out, it was towards the end of last year when we started hearing reports about this thing happening, I think in China, and they were building these hospitals in record time and all that. And it was sort of you don't really, at that time, it's oh flip, okay, this is happening in China, you feel sorry for them, but at the same time it's okay, it's not here. And then next thing, it's everywhere. So then it's like the closer it gets, the more serious it becomes. But I really share the same sentiments, bro. It really is getting hectic, on, places having to close. You've had a lot of venues, music venues closed down here in South Africa that have just been long-standing sort of pillars for artists to go and sort of play at. I don't know if it's the same situation on your side. You did say it's things are a bit better in Korea, but in terms of, are there any like sort of music venues that have been closing down or any places of importance?
Music venues are, right now currently closed down in Korea as well, because, we're restricted to have collective activities. So, like, collective activities is not possible in Korea at the moment. So everybody's like staying at home, being individual and everything. It's struggling for many artists actually. So I think nowadays in this like weird time, musicians are actually uploading more songs, I think, because everybody's staying at home listening to music. So that's why the labels are thinking like, oh guys, this is a golden opportunity. Like, we gotta stream more music and stuff. That's why a lot of artists are releasing single at this time, I think.
You are getting some artists that are playing, online shows and they're on Busker and all this and all of this. What has your approach sort of been, during the pandemic in terms of keeping your fans engaged?
Well, right now I just released my first single, so what can I do about it? Just keep releasing single by time to time. That's my strategy.
That's a good strategy. Like I agree. I think a lot of artists are finding zero excuses when it comes to releasing. And personally, I wouldn't have released any music this year if I wasn't essentially forced to. And I think the amount of time that we've all had to spend with ourselves has forced us to really be introspective. And I think as creative people, we can't help but express.
Yeah, true.
And it's not like we can go out and experience a whole new environment or go and do something we've never done before because we don't have as much access to new experiences. So we have to generate our own comfort, our own entertainment, our own everything, So
I like the idea of, introspective, when you're alone by yourself, you have to think about your own identity, like what's the next plan, So I think it's like the sort of taking a pause for a minute.
Yeah, it's sort of been both a blessing and a curse at the same time. Looking at your title, bro, on your Instagram, you've written there, Pop Songwriter. Now, to any aspiring, person who is listening to this right now and they basically are maybe struggling or going through maybe writer's block and whatnot, tell us the essentials of, writing a pop song. What, like the bare, you sort of, not really the minimum, but the basics of writing, a pop song.
So the essential of a pop song, first off, it's the vocals and top line melody. Some pop producers, tend to go towards the EDM-ish, sound design part. But at the end of the day, the pop songs, which are in the Billboard charts or whatever, their top line melodies are the most important. That's what I want to really say to people who are interested in making pop music. So because, melodies, gravitate people's heart, it's the only thing that we listen to music, melodies. It's not the instrumental that we really like and dig into. It's when it comes to pop music, I think it's the top line melody and the performance in a way.
No, that is very beautiful, bro. I think one more thing that I want to find out from you, bro, as a producer, and this is something I'm just asking about producers in general, because I'm not sure about it, on my end. In terms of, we see the likes of, say, for example, a DJ Khaled, who is a producer, and then you'll find that he basically, he's very out there, he's very, he plays shows, he hosts shows, in terms of yourself, when it comes to sort of like the live aspect of things and sort of, going out there and giving the people your sort of production and whatnot, what is sort of your rig? What is your setup? Like, for example, with a band, let's say, for example, you'll have a bass guitarist, a guitarist, and a drummer. So they'll make the music in studio, and then when it comes to playing the music live, they'll go out there and play the actual music. So for you as a producer, how do you sort of bridge that gap between the actual production and sort of getting it out on the internet and, sort of like a live aspect of it?
Oh, okay. That's a really good question, because a lot of musicians and producers and DJs, they're just some musicians, they tend to, release music through, internet platforms and not really perform live. But I think in order to play live, you need a certain amount of, singles available. So for me, I just only released one single. So for me, that's not enough to be played in the out venues and stuff. So I'm still waiting to, stack up my singles and works in order to play to outdoor places and, yeah.
Can I just say, bro, if you had to announce that you're like coming down to South Africa and you are, I don't know, you're here to do like some workshops or you're here to do some performances or whatnot, bro, sign me up. I am there. I'm the first name on the guest list.
Hey, Nas, the legend Nas, thank you so much.
Count me in, please. And I'm going to need a +1 because I know many people that need to hear this.
Yeah,
so,
I really appreciate you, Meagan, as well. Seriously. And can I just say one thing that so there are I wouldn't call them fans. I would call them my music friends. So my music friends, sometimes they DM me and ask me like about the musical journeys and everything. And a lot of people were asking me about the next single, and they're really kind enough to directly talk to me and be really nice to me. So I just want to say thank you to those who really want to really interact with me, as a musical friend. So that's all I want to say right now. Appreciation is the key.
Yes, I'm in it. Like, I'm done with the term followers because it's just not like that. We need listeners.
Exactly. A lot of artists treat their fans as their numbers. And I kind of understand, when you are reaching to the top world and, major artists and everything. But at the end of the day, it's the people who listen to music, not numbers. So I always think, right now for my first single on Spotify, it has reached about 80,000 streams within 1 month or 2 months maybe. And there wasn't even a proper promo, that I did. Everybody just, individuals liked my music and put it into their playlists. And, that kind of drove the Spotify's algorithm playlist or whatever. So I really appreciate to all those people who listened to my first single. And, even those 2 minutes, 30 seconds is really short. But if it really, excites you and really uplifted your vibe, then that's all for me.
And you know what? I think it would be definitely perfect for us to end off the show with basically Ghost in My Mind. I feel like it's a proper representation of what you're doing and whatnot, and I think it will also just hype up the date of the 7th of August that we are very much looking forward to, dude. Which platforms will the track be out on?
It will be on all platforms basically, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and SoundCloud. It will be up, and I hope it's a little different vibe from the first single, so I hope you like it.
Well, I firmly believe that good music deserves good listeners, and when it comes to your music, I am all ears.
I really appreciate your compliment and everything. So I just want to say, thanks for inviting me to this podcast.
Hey, that is really dope, bro. We've had a really awesome time with you, man. Really appreciate this. Guys, please, if you're listening to this, do check out, REBENN stuff, and it's really solid. We are going to be playing out with Ghost in My Mind, and obviously do look forward to the dates of the 7th of August when he releases his brand new single. And obviously, guys, this episode will be available on SoundCloud. On SoundCloud, we are Sludge Underground Podcast, and on Apple Music, Sludge Underground Podcast, and also Spotify, Sludge Underground Podcast, social media on Instagram at Sludge Underground, and obviously on Twitter at Sludge031, and Facebook, Sludge Underground. As for myself, it's at Zwane031. REBENN, bro, tell us where people can get in touch with you before we close out, or your social media handles and whatnot. If people want to work, if people want to stream the music, where do we find everything?
So basically, you can connect with me on Instagram. It's REBENN music. And yeah, that's basically it. And thanks once again. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast. And it was a really cool experience for me as well.
Thank you so much, bro, for agreeing to be on the show. Meagan, on your side, where can people get in touch with you?
You can find me on Instagram as well at Lemon Dove Duo or at Meagan King. Thanks so much, guys. It's been a joy.